Have you ever felt drained after talking to someone even when nothing dramatic happened? Like by the time you hang up or walk away, a cloud of negativity just clings to you. That's not just bad timing, that's a sign of toxic energy. Toxic people don't always come with warning signs. Sometimes they smile, charm, and convince the world they're harmless. But underneath, they can manipulate, criticize, and quietly chip away at your confidence. Now here's the thing. You can't always control who enters your life, but you can control how you respond. And today, I'm going to show you 7 clever ways to deal with toxic people. Ways that don't just protect your energy, they strengthen your character, sharpen your focus, and give you power over situations that would normally leave you frustrated, angry, or defeated. By the end of this, you won't just survive encounters with toxic people. You'll handle them with confidence, strategy, and even a little finesse. You'll learn to walk into a room and stay calm while chaos tries to follow you. You'll discover how to keep your mind clear, your heart light, and your life free from the invisible weight that toxic people try to place on you. So, if you're ready to reclaim your energy, protect your peace, and turn every toxic encounter into a lesson in personal power, then listen closely, because the strategies I'm about to share will change the way you interact with the world forever. Before you can protect yourself from toxic people, the first step is to recognize them before they get the chance to chip away at your peace. Toxicity doesn't always come with flashing red signs. Often it's subtle. It's the constant undermining disguised as friendly advice. It's the person who always has to one-up your stories, who drains your energy with complaints, yet somehow leaves you wondering if you're the problem. The tricky part is that toxic people often appear charming at first. They can be persuasive, charismatic, even likable. And that's exactly why so many fall into their web. But here's the truth. When you learn to spot the patterns, you reclaim control. Toxic people tend to follow predictable behaviors. They manipulate, criticize, or guilt-trip without taking responsibility. They sow seeds of doubt to watch you second-guess yourself. They thrive on drama, often turning small disagreements into emotional storms and the most dangerous ones. They disguise it as concern, care, or mentorship. That's why awareness is your first weapon, because you can't fight what you don't see. Think about the last time someone left you feeling unsettled for no reason. That knot in your stomach, that lingering sense of unease. Listen to it. Your instincts are telling you something important. Toxicity isn't about isolated moments. It's about patterns. Take the time to analyze the interactions. Are they consistently negative? Do they make you question your worth or abilities? Do you feel drained rather than energized after spending time with them? Recognizing these patterns isn't being paranoid, it's being self-aware. It's choosing to protect your energy rather than surrendering it. And here's a little secret. Most people ignore recognizing toxicity early doesn't mean cutting people off immediately. It means observing, understanding, and preparing. Once you can identify these behaviors, you can respond strategically rather than emotionally. You can set boundaries, maintain your composure, and even learn from the encounter without being consumed by it. Awareness transforms vulnerability into power. It allows you to enter rooms, conversations, and relationships with your eyes wide open, refusing to be manipulated, drained, or controlled. So start paying attention. Watch for the subtle digs, the manipulative compliments, the constant negativity, and the emotional games. Trust your instincts. Learn the patterns, because the sooner you recognize toxicity, the sooner you reclaim your life, your peace, and your power. And remember, this awareness isn't just the first step. It's the foundation for everything else we're going to talk about. Without it, no strategy will work. With it, you become unstoppable. Once you recognize toxic behavior, the next step is to take control of your space by setting clear boundaries. And boundaries aren't just rules for other people. They're declarations of self-respect. They're the invisible lines that protect your energy, your peace, and your sense of who you are. And make no mistake, setting boundaries isn't about being mean or confrontational. It's about being intentional and strategic, making it clear what you will and will not tolerate. Think of it like this. Your time, your energy, and your mental health are your most valuable resources. Every interaction with a toxic person that drains you is a transaction where you give away your power. Boundaries are the currency you use to reclaim that power. It might start with something as simple as saying no without feeling guilty, or choosing not to respond immediately when someone tries to provoke you. It can be physical, like limiting the amount of time you spend around someone who consistently brings negativity into your life. or emotional, like refusing to engage in arguments that go nowhere, or refusing to take responsibility for someone else's drama. The key is clarity. You don't need to justify, explain, or defend your boundaries. A toxic person will often try to push, test, or guilt you, but that's a test of your self-respect. If you waver, you teach them that your limits are negotiable. Stand firm. A simple confident statement is often enough. I'm not comfortable discussing this. Or, I won't engage in conversations that feel toxic. Your tone matters more than your words. Calm, unwavering, and assertive communicates far more than anger or defensiveness. Boundaries also teach others how to treat you. People often don't know where the line is until you draw it clearly. When you consistently enforce your limits, it changes the dynamics. You stop being a target for manipulation, and you start being a person whose presence commands respect. And here's the empowering truth. The stronger your boundaries, the less toxic behavior can affect you. You're no longer reacting emotionally. You're responding strategically with control and clarity. It's not always easy. Setting boundaries can feel uncomfortable at first, especially with people who are skilled at guilt, tripping, or emotional manipulation. But discomfort is temporary. The freedom and mental clarity that come from protecting yourself are lasting. Every time you enforce a boundary, you reinforce your self-worth and teach the world that your energy is non-negotiable. In the battle against toxicity, boundaries aren't just defense. They are power. They are your shield, your compass, and your first act of self-empowerment. Once you've recognized toxic behavior and set your boundaries, the next step is to master emotional detachment. This isn't about becoming cold or indifferent. It's about maintaining control over your emotions so that you don't give someone else power over your peace. Toxic people thrive on reactions every time you get angry, frustrated, or upset they've won. Emotional detachment is your way of refusing to hand them that victory. Imagine standing in a storm. The wind is harsh, the rain pelts you, and debris is flying all around. You could panic, flail, and get swept away. Or you could anchor yourself. Let the storm pass and emerge unscathed. That's what emotional detachment looks like in real life. You acknowledge what's happening around you, but you don't internalize it. You watch the storm without letting it destroy your calm. You don't absorb their negativity. You let it pass right by you. Detachment doesn't mean ignoring the situation or pretending it doesn't affect you. It means choosing where to place your energy. Toxic people will often try to provoke you with insults, criticism, or manipulation. They may twist your words or attack your choices. And if you react impulsively, you give them control. But when you respond with calm observation instead of emotional reaction, you regain the upper hand. You start to see the patterns clearly, understand the motivations, and respond strategically, not emotionally. Practicing detachment requires discipline and awareness. Start by noticing your automatic reactions. Do you feel your heart race when someone criticizes you unfairly? Do your palms sweat when a colleague or friend tries to guilt trip you? That's your signal to pause. Take a breath. Remind yourself that their behavior is a reflection of them, not you. Their toxicity is their choice. Your peace is yours. Every time you choose calm over reaction, you strengthen your ability to stay in control, even in the most challenging situations. The power of detachment is transformative. It frees you from unnecessary drama, protects your mental energy, and allows you to make decisions from a place of clarity instead of emotion. When a toxic person sees that they can no longer provoke you, they lose interest, or at the very least, you are no longer affected by their attempts. Emotional detachment doesn't just shield you, it empowers you. It turns encounters that once left you exhausted into opportunities to practice patience, clarity, and self-mastery. Remember, the goal isn't to shut off your feelings entirely, it's to choose which battles are worth your energy. Detachment is the art of remaining unshaken, unmanipulated, and fully in control. Even when chaos surrounds you, it's a skill that transforms toxicity from a threat into a test of your strength. And each time you master it, you step closer to living a life defined not by the actions of others, but by the peace and power you create for yourself. Once you've mastered detachment, the next layer of defense against toxic people is strategic communication. This is where awareness, boundaries, and calm come together, allowing you to respond with precision rather than emotion. Toxic people often try to control conversations, twist your words, or create tension to keep you off balance. If you respond impulsively, you feed their agenda. Strategic communication is your way of staying one step ahead, turning interactions from battles into exercises in control and clarity. The first principle of strategic communication is clarity. Speak deliberately. Use words that are simple, firm, and free of unnecessary explanation. Toxic individuals often try to draw you into endless justifications, debates, or emotional arguments. When you communicate clearly and concisely, you deny them that leverage. A well-placed "I don't engage in that kind of conversation" or "let's focus on solutions, not blame" can shift the dynamic instantly. You're no longer a participant in their drama. You're a calm, unshakable presence guiding the interaction. Another key tactic is choosing when to speak and when to stay silent. Silence is one of the most powerful tools in dealing with toxic people. Not every comment needs a response. Not every insult needs a rebuttal. By responding selectively, you take away the gratification they get from provoking you. It's not avoidance, it's strategy. It communicates control, patience, and composure. Qualities toxic people find difficult to undermine. Redirecting the conversation is equally effective. When a toxic person tries to pull you into negativity, subtly steer the discussion back to neutral or positive ground. Ask questions that require facts, solutions, or constructive thinking. This puts them in a position where they must engage productively or reveal their own irrationality. Strategic communication isn't about confrontation. It's about control, guiding interactions toward calm, clarity, and purpose. Finally, consider the gray rock approach. Being as uninteresting and unreactive as possible, toxic people feed off drama, attention, and emotional responses. By remaining neutral, consistent, and composed, you remove the fuel for their behavior. They may still try, but their impact is minimized, and you maintain your peace. Mastering strategic communication transforms encounters with toxic individuals. What once felt draining becomes an opportunity to exercise control, patience, and influence. You learn to speak without anger, act without reaction, and maintain authority in every interaction. It's not about winning arguments. It's about protecting your energy, commanding respect, and refusing to let negativity dictate your actions. When you combine awareness, boundaries, detachment, and strategic communication, you step into a position of strength. Toxic people may still exist around you, but you are no longer vulnerable. Every word, pause, and response becomes a tool to maintain your power, preserve your peace, and navigate life on your terms. Strategic communication isn't just a skill. It's your shield, your sword, and your secret weapon in a world full of unnecessary conflict. Even when you recognize toxicity, set boundaries, detach emotionally, and communicate strategically, the ultimate power lies in where you place your focus. Toxic people will always exist in the world. You cannot control them, but you can control yourself. Your energy, your mindset, and your daily actions determine whether toxicity shapes your life or whether you rise above it. Focusing on your growth and positivity is the ultimate act of resistance against negativity. Think of it this way: toxic people thrive on distraction. They want you consumed by anger, doubt, or frustration so that your energy is wasted on them instead of on your life. By shifting your focus toward personal growth and positivity, you reclaim that energy and use it to build a stronger, more resilient self. This begins with intentional habits: reading, journaling, reflecting, exercising, meditating, or learning new skills. These are the practices that fill your mind and heart with strength, clarity, and purpose, leaving no room for negativity to take root. Positivity isn't about ignoring reality or pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing where to direct your attention. When faced with toxicity, you can focus on solutions instead of complaints, opportunities instead of obstacles, and gratitude instead of resentment. This mindset transforms challenges into lessons, turning experiences that would normally drain you into stepping stones for growth. The more you practice this, the less power toxic individuals hold over your emotions, because your inner world becomes a fortress of resilience. Surrounding yourself with uplifting people is another critical aspect. Energy is contagious. Being around supportive, motivated, and positive individuals reinforces your mindset and gives you examples of healthy interaction. Mentors, friends, or communities that nurture growth serve as mirrors reflecting the strength, calm, and resilience you want to cultivate in yourself. When your environment is rich in positivity, toxicity loses its influence almost automatically. Remember, growth is a long-term strategy. Every time you focus on your development, you build skills, confidence, and mental fortitude that make toxic interactions less impactful. You begin to respond with grace, confidence, and control rather than frustration or fear. Positivity in this sense becomes not just a mindset, it becomes armor. It protects your energy, amplifies your potential, and ensures that your life is defined by your choices rather than the behavior of others. Ultimately, prioritizing growth and positivity is an act of power and freedom. It says to the world, I will not be defined by your toxicity. I will define myself through my strength, my actions, and my focus. By committing to your growth, you transform every encounter, every challenge, and every negative interaction into an opportunity to rise higher, stay stronger, and live a life that toxic people cannot touch. This is the path to lasting peace, unshakable confidence, and a life fully under your control. Remember this: toxic people are not your problem. Your response to them is you cannot control their words, their behavior, or their attitude. But you can control how you show up in your own life. Awareness, boundaries, emotional detachment, strategic communication, and a focus on growth are not just tools. They are a declaration of self-respect, strength, and power. Every step you take to protect your energy is a step toward freedom. Every boundary you set is a statement that your peace is non-negotiable. Every moment you choose calm over reaction, positivity over resentment, and growth over distraction. You reclaim control over your life. Toxic people may try to dim your light, but your resilience, focus, and intentional actions will shine brighter than their negativity could ever touch. Here's the ultimate truth. You are the gatekeeper of your mind, your heart, and your life. No one has the power to take that away unless you give it to them. So step forward with confidence, wisdom, and courage. Recognize toxicity, protect your boundaries, master your emotions, communicate strategically, and prioritize your growth. Build a life so full of purpose, positivity, and strength that toxicity simply cannot find a foothold. You have the power to turn every challenge into a lesson, every toxic encounter into an opportunity, and every moment of difficulty into a step toward a stronger, wiser, and more unshakable you. Stand firm, stay focused, protect your peace, and never forget the energy you invest in yourself is the most powerful force in the world. The choice is yours. Will you let toxicity control your life? Or will you rise above it stronger and brighter than ever? Choose wisely. Choose power. Choose yourself.